Hello everyone, Feed here, back with part 3 of the Beginner Guide series. In part 1 and 2, we have talked about how you can start a strong company by accumulating resources like renown and money. In this video, we'll talk about building the brothers since they are a big part of the company themselves. I won't go too deep into each and every perk and stats of every brother, but rather the idea and direction of each build so you can go from a smooth early game to a solid mid game and a strong late game. Sounds good? Let's go. Number 1. Early game. Early game is the first 20 to 30 days. Your goal is to get a core team of 12 going. Amongst them, you want a few key brothers that you can bring all the way to the late game. The rest of the team will help you and your key brothers get there, and they can be replaced along the way. My vision for a team is one that can stand up to every challenge thrown their way. Therefore, I always try to aim for a balanced team, with damage dealers in the front, archers in the back, a banner and a tank. From day 1, I will look for recruits that can fill these positions. Any recruit I buy will immediately be categorized under mid, pleb, or pro tier. You can call them useless, usable, useful, or bad, okay, good, your choice. That's just how I like to call my recruits. Pro brothers are the key brothers that can fill in one of the positions that I'm looking for. You will keep them all the way to the late game. Plebs are the ones that you can use for a while. Most of them won't make it to the late game, but they will help you get there. Mids are the trash with no hope of becoming anything. They are used as arrow catchers or decoy to distract the enemies and keep your main team safe. They are disposed of as soon as they take an injury because it's not worth the medical supplies to heal them up, and you will find plenty more of them soon. Alright, now that you kind of know what you are looking for, let's start from day 1. Usually, you start with 3 brothers. One of them is a potential 200 with 2-star in melee skill and 1 in melee defense. Usually, I give this guy a greatsword later on, since greatsword is so versatile, it's good against everything, and it doesn't demand too much from the brother. Second guy is a potential archer with 2-star in range skill. These two are your first pro brothers. Protect them at all costs, level them up, and they will be the backbone of your team. The third guy has some weird stars in HP, fatigue, and resolve. You could make him into a banner, but I usually make him into a nimble mace guy, either with a shield or a 200 mace, since his starting melee skill and defense are pretty good. He won't be a late game brother, but he will get you there. Also, banner is pretty easy to find. After this, look for more recruits. Early on, hire cheap ones like brawlers, farmhands, thieves, militia, caravan hands. They are all good for their price, and can fill multiple roles depending on their stars. If they have even 1 star in melee skill, they can become a pleb with mace and shield, or a nimble 2-hand mace later on. Colossus into gifted, into backstabber, into mace mastery can make anyone into an effective stunner. If they have stars in both melee skill and defense, congratulations, you have found another pro brother for the late game. Make sure you look for a bannerman early to complete the sergeant ambition. Also look for hunters to make into archers. Unless a map has very few hunter cabins to find hunter from, I will skip other range backgrounds like poachers, witch hunters, bowers, because hunters are just superior. A no-star hunter can still make a decent crossbowman. A good hunter is simply unmatched. In the very early game, your opponents are mostly thugs and raiders. Thugs should be easy enough. Raiders are good opportunities to get better armors and weapons. Besides this, there are undead and some beasts. They should not be a problem, just be a bit careful of direwolves. After day 15 or so, you will start to see marksmen. They will be your nightmare for a while. Try to have kite shields on your front line, deploy arrow catchers to keep your key brothers safe, and fight them at night. If they have only 1 or 2 marksmen, it's not too bad, but if they have more than 3, make sure you prepare yourself for what to come. After day 25 or so, marksmen become much more common. If you have a hard time fighting them, consider going north. Operate there for a while. You will face mostly barbarians here. Thralls are very easy, but reavers can be very dangerous at this point. The spike mace they carry can insta-kill your level 5-6 brother if hit in the head. Don't let the reavers with 200 mace or hammer get next to you. Your archers and stunners should be able to keep them from smashing you in the head. You get tons of medical supplies from barbarians, so taking a few injuries here and there will not be a problem. Reavers also drop spike mace and skull hammer. Both are very good 200 weapons early on. They also carry heavy throwing axes and javelins, which are amazing weapons for your archers later on. Once you get your first few guys to level 7 with Nimble, you can go back to the south and confront the marksman. Your archers should now be good enough to hit the marksman more consistently. With marksmen becoming less of a problem, you can set your eyes on big brigand groups with a leader. Leaders often carry good armors and weapons. You can find 200-ish armors and helmets from them. You can also find winged mace and great swords, which are big upgrades for your team. Another source of equipment is fallen heroes. Unlock them the whole fight with a wooden stick and puncture them at the end. Around day 30, hopefully you will have a decent team. Some of them level 7, a couple archers, a few pieces of brigand leaders or fallen heroes armors, and most importantly, a few Battleforge dudes who can wear them later on. Number 2, mid-game. For me, mid-game is the period after the early game up to the start of the first crisis, usually around day 80. In this time, you will be constantly moving around the map, attacking whatever standing in your way. In order to do this, you need to know what you are running into. Good thing that you already have a very nice and balanced team from the early game. Beside brigands, undead and barbarian reavers, you will have to face orcs, goblins, ancient undead, barbarian chosen, and some beasts like Unhold, Lindworm, Strat, and Hexen. Against most of these new enemies, you need good archers. I have found 3 to be a good number. 3 archers allow you to laugh at marksmen first of all. You can shoot down orc berserker before they can get to you. You can go toe to toe with goblins. Archers in large numbers are very good at focusing down dangerous enemies with low armor from afar. But what about armor stuff like orc warriors and chosen? That's where your archers pull out their secret weapons, my friends. Heavy throwing axes and javelins do insane damage up close, with throwing weapon mastery and duelist. Now let's talk about the big beasts like Lindworm, Strat, and Unhold. This is where your tank come into play. He is a Battleforge dude with a lot of defense, fatigue, and resolve. He uses Indomitable, Recover, and Adrenaline to basically have Shield Wall and Indomitable up 100% of the time. With this, he is literally unkillable, and you can use him to pin down 2-3 Lindworms or Strat, allowing your team to take care of the remaining beasts. Another place where the tank shines is Hexing Fights. In this fight, I like to use the tank and the banner, 2 very high resolve guys to stay in the front, along with my best damage dealer, who wears the undead trophy. This front line of 3 is immune to Hexen Charm. Their job is to tank the charms while the archers in the back shoot down incoming beasts. The rest of the team will also stay in the back to protect the archer. In all of these fights, the front line is still the biggest part of the team. The tank and the archer's job is just to make the front line's life easier. You will face a lot of hard fights in the mid game, and if you push your team as hard as I do, there will be casualties. Make sure your key brothers survive. Your plebs will come into play here. Use them to protect the team. If they die, replace them with better brothers. Do not forget to keep looking for recruits. You should have a lot of money at this point, so look for Hedge Knights and other high-end recruits. Number 3, late game. Late game for me is what happens during and after the first crisis. The first crisis is tough, and it will naturally weed out all the weak plebs. After the crisis, you should be left with hopefully a team full of battle-tested veterans and maybe some young blood full of potential. Keep improving your team. Look for famed items and set your eyes on some of those legendary locations. If you've watched all 3 parts of my beginner guide, first of all, thanks for watching, and congratulations, you now know all the basics of Battle Brothers. I hope this series helped you build the team of your dream. I will see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.